We're in an emergency under Doug Ford's dangerous leadership. For the first time in Ontario's history, Doug Ford is overriding Canada's Charter of Rights, our freedoms. Doug Ford rewrote our election laws to silence us. The court said it was unconstitutional. It's an abuse of power. Doug Ford's Conservatives don't want you to hear about what they're doing to make the lives of personal support workers hell, nurses' lives hell, and their children's teachers' lives hell, or to hear about the neglect of their grandparents who died in long-term care because of Doug Ford's failures. He wants to shut us up, and for the first time in Ontario's history, he will. Brought to you by SEIU Healthcare, the people on the front line of care.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Corey Johnson. I'm the head of strategic communications for SEIU Healthcare. I'm filling in tonight for your Region 5 representative on the executive board, Ellen Bico, who unfortunately isn't able to join us tonight, though she really wanted to be here. I'm joined by lots of familiar SEIU faces this evening, and you'll get to hear from a lot of them shortly. And I see so many familiar faces with us tonight in the Zoom. So thank you so much for being here for this Region 5. We're really excited to be here tonight to keep you updated, listen to your concerns, and answer your questions. We also have a couple great giveaways throughout the next hour, so make sure you stay online and engaged for your chance to win. I want to start tonight with our virtual Zoom meeting anti-harassment policy, which is we will not tolerate hateful messages from attendees that are racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, or ableist, nor any language that is discriminatory or violent in its intent. As such, we reserve the right to expel any attendees from our event that contribute to this type of behavior. Thanks in advance for following this policy. We will begin this meeting that we are meeting on Aboriginal land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. As settlers, we are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Long before today, as we gather here, there have been Aboriginal peoples who have been the stewards of this place. In particular, the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this place. We also recognize the contributions of the Métis, Inuit, and other indigenous peoples have made, both in shaping and strengthening this community in particular, and our province and country as a whole. As settlers, this recognition of the contributions and historic importance of Indigenous peoples must also be clearly and overtly connected to our collective commitment to make the promise and the challenge of truth and reconciliation real in our communities, and in particular, to bring justice for murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls across the country. Throughout tonight's meeting, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we will answer as many as we can at the end of the meeting. We might also answer some in the middle, so definitely don't hold on till the end. Put them out when you have them. And to make sure we know who is asking the question, please rename your Zoom name. And you can do that by clicking the three little dots at the top of your picture and click rename. Feel free to also include your workplace and/or position so we know a little bit more about it. Now, in my position, I know I've talked to hundreds of healthcare workers over the past 18 months, and I've heard your stories about the stress that you've all been under over the last year and a half. For that reason, we really wanted to start tonight with taking you through a mental health, a little bit of a workshop with some tips and resources. So to kick us off with that, I'm excited to pass it over to SEIU Healthcare's Head of Education, Riley Richmond, who is going to take us through a short presentation. Riley, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Corey, and thanks everybody for coming on this evening. I'm just scrolling through, looking at some familiar faces I haven't seen in a while either. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Gloria. Hi, Laura. As I'm scrolling, a lot of you don't have your cameras on, and I totally understand if you're unable to, but just for the purpose of building environment, it would be really great to see you. Hi, Jody. Just for the remainder of the session. So as Corey mentioned, my name is Riley Richmond, and I am your head of education. You know, it really goes without saying that right now you are, as frontline healthcare workers, going through perhaps what is the worst mental health crisis in our province, in my opinion, for frontline workers. That's not to say that you weren't previous to the pandemic, but based on the coalescence of what is happening for you and continuing to happen for you, it's really important that we wanted to share with you various resources that are available. Some of you might not need to use them yourselves, but we share them in the hopes that you will maybe jot down some notes, take some photos, and share them with your members or your other stewards that you might know, because we really don't want anybody to suffer in silence. The first resource that we wanted to bring forward is the accessible walk-in counseling options that are available to you in your various regions, particularly for Region 5. This is really about if you're looking for an appointment on the same day or within a few days. There is a backlog in the system right now. It's another crisis that access and availability to OHIP covered counseling is often inaccessible. The wait lists are anywhere from 2 to 5 years with a referral from a doctor. So again, this is part of the reason why we're trying to spread some information about what you can get for yourselves and for your family. These walking counseling clinics also provide counseling services without the need to book a long time in advance. And they can be really helpful for different types of issues, whether it's family conflict, stress, grief, depression, anxiety, relationship issues, separation, divorce, or abuse. Most of the time, as I've mentioned, no appointments are required, but some clinics might ask that you call ahead on the same day before coming. So what you see here is FamilyServiceToronto.org. They help people with a wide variety of life challenges. They've been around for approximately 90 years, and they've been assisting different parts of families through counseling, community development, advocacy, and public education programs. Their services are available to anyone who lives or works in Toronto, but it also extends to the Hamilton Region 5 area. So I'd really highly recommend you jump on there. They also have, they're able to make referrals to different walking counseling clinics if you're not necessarily in the Hamilton area, or for example, if you're a home care PSW and you're traveling around, it might not always make sense for your schedule to end up in a clinic in Hamilton. Walkingcounseling.com. This is another really wonderful resource for you. They support, for life's challenges, free counseling services. And again, there's no appointment necessary, and you're guaranteed to be in front of a trained professional. You'll be assisted. It is on a first come, first served basis, however, so make sure that you budget enough time if you're physically going. Again, the website is on the top there for you, www.walkingcounseling.com. And you'll see here it's open to Ontario residents within the Champlain region. If that's not you, don't worry. Reach out to them. They're going to be able to make referrals for you. And often the network is wide within the community. Mentalhealth.ca. This is another really wonderful resource, probably tailored a little bit more to information on what different types of mental health programs are out there, how to sort of understand what you or someone you may know might be going through. And again, there's many rosters on where you can find help. It is anonymous, confidential, and trustworthy information. There's also info sheets on there. So, if you're thinking about printing some of these and bringing them into the workplace to help some of your friends or coworkers, that might be a good idea as well. They also have a screening tool to find out if you or your loved one has a mental health concern, or you may be trending towards needing help. Respiteservices.com is another really wonderful resource that we wanted to share. This is really a family support service that provides temporary relief from the physical and emotional demands that can be involved in caring for a family member who has a disability, or for children, or for anyone that you may be responsible for. Respite creates greater opportunities for all the family members involved to live active and more participatory lives in the community. What happens is, and I'm sure many of you are familiar, you request a respite break, most likely at your home, while your loved one is participating in agency or private supports as well. Someone will come and relieve you so that you can free yourself to just take a moment, run errands. And as I've mentioned, it can take place during the day, evening, weekend, or overnight. They're available for you. And I just want to call in that respite looks different for every family. So, make sure that you're reaching out and requesting what serves you the best in the moment. So that's it for me. I really hope that folks can take a moment to center yourselves, center the people you love, and make sure that you prioritize your mental health during this ongoing and very difficult time. Thank you so much for having me, and back over to you, Corey.
Thanks so much, Riley, for those great resources. And yeah, I just want to remind everyone that I know, we all get really busy and things get stressful, and, our own mental health is sometimes something that we put to the side. And it's just so important to take those few minutes a day and focus on you. I know something I do every day is I force myself to go out for a walk for at least an hour, whether it's late at night or early in the morning, whenever I can fit it in. It's just the time for myself just to really decompress and think, and then just get some exercise. And I encourage everyone to put how you kind of decompress in the chat, share with others, give some ideas so that we can all learn some. So I'm now going to pass things over to SEIU Healthcare Secretary Treasurer Tyler Downey, who I'm super excited to have with us tonight here in Region 5. I know he's a Region 5 resident himself. So thanks, Tyler, so much for joining us. Do you want to share a few words?
Yeah, absolutely, Corey. Thank you. And thanks, Riley, for sharing that information. Thank you for everyone who made the time to come out tonight on this regional meeting. This is the 5th one. We've got another one happening right now. Region 7 is happening. So we're making our way through all of the regions. And this is our, I think, 2nd round for the year, actually. The first one happened in March, and the next one will happen in October. So we're definitely happy and proud that we've been able to at least connect with our regional members in this way. So I'm happy to be here. Happy to, chat with folks. There's been a lot of things that have happened over the last number of months. I don't think it's any surprise, the government situations, your employers, how they've been treating you. And so I just want to send a special, thank you, but also, raise you up as healthcare workers who've been on the front line throughout this crisis. We're not out of it yet. There's still a big fight ahead of us. The commercial that you saw at the front end of this regional meeting was something that we put together really quickly last week because of this government going back to the legislature and overriding the Superior Court judge's ruling on Bill 254. And I know Christoph's going to talk a little bit about that. So there's definitely a lot to be paying attention to these days. And so I just want to encourage everybody to stay plugged in, stay connected to the emails and actions that we're going to have to take over the next number of months, whether you're in bargaining or whether you're out of bargaining or just in general. It's going to be a fight until the next election. So that's what we're prepared for. As the treasurer, that's part of my role, is to help ensure the organization is ready to take on those fights. And I think we've been doing a decent job of that. And so we're going to continue to do that work. So yeah, I'm excited to hear about the app. I know that's part of what we've been working on over the last number of months as well. And so I know we've got a quick report for folks tonight. So thanks again for joining. If there's questions throughout the day for me as one of the officers, Charlene and Mina are on the Region 7 meeting right now, so they couldn't join the Region 5, but they definitely send their regards to this group. So I'll pass it back over to you, Corey, but I'll stay throughout if there's any questions or any thoughts folks wanted to share with me directly.
Thank you so much, Tyler. And before we move on, I do have our first poll question of the night. So I'm going to launch that here. And that question is going to be, as a healthcare worker, what is the #1 area where you would like to see improvement? So that poll should be coming up on your screen. And I know polls don't always work for everybody on mobile. So if you're able to put something in the chat, if you can't access the poll, but just to give us some information, we're always looking to collect information so that when we do stuff like commercials or campaigns, we know where to focus on, what we want to talk about at the bargaining table. All these issues are things we're going to talk about at the bargaining table, but it's always good to see where everyone's priorities are. So see some coming in here. Wages, not a surprise, #1 and well-deserved for sure. I've done a lot of these meetings and I've never seen an other type or answer in the chat. So I'm eager to see what that other in the chat's going to be. Or maybe I'll be left in suspense. Pension and retirement security, important issue. Benefits, that's an important one for sure. We talked a lot for any of those that turned into our hospital press conference this morning. That was a big thing with hospital bargaining, where unfortunately, because of Bill 124, which Christoph will touch on, there's going to be decisions to made whether it's wage increases or benefit increases with mental health supports, which is a shame and disgusting that the government's making folks choose between. So I will close the poll. Thank you very much for the information, and we will move on. I'll just pull this up here. So our next speaker is going to touch on that commercial you saw at the start, which I know has gotten some good feedback, and you could have been one of the first to see it if you had the SEIU Healthcare app, which we'll also talk about later. But our next speaker is going to touch on some of the bills the Ontario government has passed that are keeping you as healthcare workers down. Christoph Barotz is our Deputy Chief of Staff, and he's always very, very, very involved in our political work. So Christoph, thanks for joining us. Over to you.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here in Region 5. And I am joined today with our co-presenter, Jackie Haynes, who I'm sure a lot of you know. Jackie Haynes is an internal organizer in the home and community care sector, but a longstanding political activist. I'd like to, first of all, it's great to see a lot of familiar names and faces on this Zoom here tonight. And as Corey mentioned, we're going to be talking briefly about some of the recent government action and legislation that has been brought into effect that has a significant impact on all of us as healthcare and community care workers.
Respect Us, Bill 254, Protecting Ontario Elections Act. The new law was passed in April of 2021. It increased the personal donations to political parties from $1,650 to $3,300.
That's right, Jackie. I think that really talks a lot about, who this bill was aimed to help, right? You'll see all of these bills have very creative names. This one, not so much, but Protecting Ontario Elections Act. And it seems like they're trying to protect the act from healthcare workers, right? Obviously, most working class and healthcare and community care workers don't have $1,600 to donate to a political party, which was the previous limit. And that was really struck as kind of this kind of fine balance between ensuring people had the right to donate to a political party, which is an extension of the freedom of speech, but also not to give more affluent individuals an unfair advantage in shaping the political system or supporting candidates. This law, 254, upped personal individual political donations to over $3,000, which in itself is not a big news item, but it really talks to who the Ford government was really thinking about when passing Bill 254.
Right. It also limits what SEIU can put into the public realm during the election.
And that's the big one, Jackie, and everybody. So obviously SEIU Healthcare as your union, we've run a lot of public awareness campaigns and commercials Some of them you see on the right here, the Time to Care campaign, you'll remember, and I know Lisa, you were very involved in that as well, about talking about the for-profit aspect of long-term care and really raising awareness in the public realm about, the conditions in long-term care for workers and for residents versus some of the millions and tens of millions of dollars of profit that these corporations make. And I quite frankly think that because of the Time to Care Act, the government was not able to include for-profit long-term care in the 1% compensation cap. The other ad you see in the middle that was run during the hospital bargaining last round of central bargaining, again, raising public awareness about the plight of hospital workers, the challenges they face, and the need for improvements. And again, getting the public on side, thereby putting more pressure on politicians to support healthcare workers. And the same goes with Stuck in the Past, which was a home care advertising and public awareness campaign that we ran about demanding change and solidifying and supporting the home care sector within the province. And under 254, which I'll go into in a second, but running these ads from what we are now classified under this legislation as a third party, there's a lot of restrictions to the point that we really can't put anything into the public realm. We cannot talk about the challenges, the struggles, the needs for improvement within the health and community care sector, because the government has passed these major restrictions on infringing on the rights of third parties to talk about political issues during the election.
If everyone could just put in the chat why they think that the Ford government is limiting our free speech.
And maybe Jackie, while everyone's doing that, the other thing I wanted to kind of really make clear is before 254, the election period, where the election rules kick in about spending, about messaging, about all of these issues, was 28 days, what's called the writ period, right? Then a previous legislation extended it to 6 months before the election. 254 extended the election period to 1 year before the election. So since the next election is in June of 2022, we are already in what's called the election period, where all these restrictions kick in. Jackie, do you see any responses in the chat?
Yeah, so Alexander wants you to put him on the news for free. And okay. We have Lisa, she says fear of losing.
That's right.
So.
And sorry, Christoph, I just want to jump in here because I know after this you have to head over to Region 7. Alex did have a question, and I briefly answered it, but I think you definitely could explain it better. But Alex asked if the bill is just about limiting the ad money we're allowed to spend.
No, it is not just about the ad money. It really talks about, yes, third-party political spending is definitely a part of it, but what qualifies as that is also a big change. Because what the legislation says is anything that can be construed or interpreted as a political issue is considered election campaign spending, right? So if we go out there and we talk about healthcare workers or healthcare or potholes or anything that any politician is going to be talking about during the election cycle, and obviously we don't have a crystal ball, it triggers the restrictions of the act. So spending and restrictions on putting messages is one thing, but what is considered political issues is another big aspect of the legislation.
We also have a couple of others. Jyoti had said to ensure a PC elected government. So that's pretty obvious. And Aaron Taylor, he's afraid for people to speak the truth.
Yep. Those are all great responses. Yeah. So as Corey and Tyler mentioned, so obviously this legislation had a big impact on not just SEIU, but a lot of unions and a lot of other coalitions, like coalitions that advocate for increased autism funding or school support or anything that is tied back to the government. So SEIU and our labor partners under the leadership of our president, Charlene, Tyler, Mina, and Jackie, we joined forces and we took the government to court, saying that this piece of legislation is unconstitutional. It is a violation of people's right to free speech and expression. Last week, we got a very good news story that the Ontario Superior Court, as Tyler mentioned, said that Bill 254 is a violation of the Constitution. It is a violation of Section 2A of the Charter, which talks about the right to free speech, and therefore it is essentially null and void because it is an infringement on people's rights. And the way it was put into effect, the way it was passed into law, is another violation because it did not give people the adequate time to understand the bill and to react to the bill. So we had a moment of celebration. And then literally 36 hours, actually 48 hours after we got that piece of news, the Ford government came out and said, you know what, we're going to recall the legislature because they already broke for summer. And I may just add that while your vacations are being canceled, the government took their summer vacation. They recalled the legislature and they said, we're going to repass Bill 254 and put in something called the notwithstanding clause, meaning that the government's making acknowledgement that this law violates the Constitution, violates free speech. We don't care. We're going to enshrine legislation into the bill, and we're going to enforce it. So it's basically an acknowledgement by the province saying, we get it's a violation of the charter, but we don't care. This is important to us for things like Jyoti mentioned about making sure that their path to re-election is easy, and that people that may have an opposing viewpoint to what they've done are not able to express those viewpoints unless you're a political party.
Right. Protect us. Bill 175, Connecting People to Home and Community Care Act 2020. Bill 175 overhauls the home care system, weakening oversight and increasing privatization with no input from workers.
And I know we have Gloria on here and some other folks who work in home care. So Bill 175, and I think Gloria, you spoke about Bill 175 in front of the legislature and the committee. And it really talks about that piece of legislation, all the challenges, all the huge needs for improvement in home care are ignored under this piece of legislation. What is really happening here is they're trying to, or did I lose my screen share? Can folks still see it? We lost it? Okay, let me just put it back here. So under this piece of legislation, the government weakened its own oversight of home care. They're giving more control for the private companies that run home care in the province, and it increases privatization. It enables home care providers and the government to basically say more power to corporations. And again, there was no input from workers who are on the front line dealing with the challenges in the home care sector. It was crafted and it was passed behind the scenes.
Right. Bill 195, Reopening Ontario Act 2020. So Bill 195 gave employers the ability to override provisions of the collective agreement in response to the pandemic.
So if you've been redeployed into different workplaces or completely different sectors within the last couple of months to a year in response to the pandemic, if your vacation was canceled, if you have volunteers or non-union members doing your job in the workplace, it is a result of Bill 195. Because Bill 195, while it did some good things in response to the pandemic, we know the government knows, and we know that employers are using it outside of the intent of the legislation and violating provisions of the collective agreement. And the government knows, wait a minute, if unions can fight back, that's a problem for us. So what they did along with 195 is they put in stipulations that the unions cannot file grievances on some of these restructuring, redeployment, vacation, and bargaining unit work provisions to make sure that, again, frontline healthcare workers cannot fight back against some of these bills and legislation. Now, I have to add, as soon as this act and the emergency orders are expired, we will be taking employers to account to make sure that everything that they've done in response to the pandemic is then brought into line with the collective agreement.
Bill 195 and Bill 175 do not protect the rights of healthcare workers and community care workers. Pay Us, Bill 124, Protecting a Sustainable Public Sector for Future Generations Act 2019. So this legislation caps the total compensation at 1% per year for 3 years.
And again, compensation is not just wages, right? So anything to do with the dollar value within your collective agreement or especially during bargaining, as we do with the hospital sector, is included in that 1% cap. So vacation improvements, sick day improvements, benefits, anything that may have a dollar value attached to it is under this 1% compensation cap under Bill 124.
The legislation impacts hospitals, school boards, long-term care homes, and home and community care.
That's right. Anyone who's considered to be paid out of the public purse, anyone who by extension gets paid out of tax dollars is under this Bill 124 compensation cap of 1%.
Some MPPs, firefighters, police officers all received raises before the legislation was even passed.
So male-dominated professions, firefighters and police officers, coincidentally, got their collective agreements and their contracts ratified just before Bill 124 was brought into effect. And some MPPs, namely conservative parliamentary assistants, got a 14% increase just before the parliament, before the legislation was passed, thereby giving them definitely male-dominated professions some advantage before all of the other collective agreements like ours and other unions, healthcare collective agreements came up for expiration.
So Bill 124 ensures that healthcare workers and community home care workers are not paid what they deserve.
Mm-hmm. And I think in conclusion, I just wanted to kind of highlight a couple of things, right? So Bill 254 is really an attack on the voices of healthcare workers, making sure that we cannot amplify as your union, your voices, your experiences, your needs for improvement during the election cycle. Because as some of you have said in the chat, the Ford government does not want to hear any sort of conflicting or opposing viewpoint from frontline workers during the election period. 175 and 195, again, two big pieces of legislation that has huge impact on all of you as home and community care and healthcare workers. No input from workers, no input from any of the organizations to represent those workers. Bill 124, it's very clear, they're trying to balance the books on the back of healthcare workers while giving exemptions to CEOs and certain people in the public sector who are more senior. And the thing that gets me the most, one of the things that gets me, I mean, all of this gets me, but government can act fast when it wants to. Bill 254, from the moment it was introduced to the moment it became law, was 2.5 months, right? So they just rushed it through. And there's examples where they passed through legislation within a week, if not a couple of days, right? But when it comes to those issues that really have a huge impact on all of you, and not only that, they recalled the legislature from their break to re-amend 254 to make it legal. They didn't recall the legislature to make pandemic pay permanent or to expand pandemic pay, to make the precautionary principle a steadfast piece of legislation. They recalled the legislature because they wanted to do something that was in their own benefit. And when it comes to other issues, for example, WSIB coverage for retirement and developmental service workers, which is a campaign that Jackie, how long have you been working on?
Like
Sandy?
5 years. So that just shows you that, when they want to get something passed quickly, they can. And here, we're just asking them to open their heart and to ensure our safety. And it's taken, now over 5 years as we still continue to, move ahead with that. So.
Absolutely.
All right. So when we know what's happening at Queen's Park, and when we speak up about our experiences and advocate for change, when we participate in the political process by sending emails, calling your MPP, meeting with your local politician, when we vote for candidates that support healthcare and community care workers, when we encourage others to vote and support for healthcare and community care workers, when we hold politicians accountable to their commitments, we can and we will win.
That's right. Thank you, Jackie. Well said. So please, when we ask you to call your MPP, to write a letter to your MPP, to talk to your colleagues at work, please help us push for change, because these pieces of legislation are powerful. But I think if we come together and we push back as a team, as a SEIU family, we can make some progress and make sure that the next government of Ontario is one that respects healthcare workers.
I just wanted to add before we go, I know that for some people, they feel that contacting their MPP is a little bit scary, but just remember that your MPPs elected and MPs are elected to serve us, the community. So, you know, it's very important that, you know, when we have these issues that we bring them forward. And I'm just going to put myself out there because I don't mind helping anybody who wants to write a letter, a phone call. I'm always here, you know, to help you guys move things forward. I know it's important and we've got to get this stuff done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Well said. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you for all you do. I know it's really, really difficult out there, but we're doing whatever we can to support you. And have a great night. Stay safe. And Jackie and I are off to the Region 7 meeting. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Christoph and Jackie, for sharing that. And one of the things I just wanted to
30 minutes lang pala.
oh, got someone else here. Yeah, one of the things I really wanted to point out too, and Tyler touched on it and Christoph touched on it, but was the speed. And you can turn things around really quickly. And we saw, you know, we defeated Bill 254 last week and they came back already to nullify it. And when Tyler talked about how, you know, we did that ad really quickly, the sad part is that the government acted so fast that we started the ad on Saturday and already by today, it's illegal for us to play that on public. So when Jackie talks about, you know, 5 years to fight for WSIB coverage for folks in group homes, and that's still going, yet, you know, they're so afraid of being attacked that they come back from legislator and only give us 2.5 days to run an advertisement. That just shows really where the government's priorities were. So that was just something I wanted to point out there. So thanks again, Christoph and Jackie. A lot of very valuable information. I do see some questions in the chat, and we definitely will get to those with Tyler at the end. But before we get to that stage and a few others, I said that unfortunately, Ellen, your Region 5 representative, wasn't going to be here tonight. But that doesn't mean we don't have a very strong, powerful member voice from Region 5 here. I'm really excited to introduce Abby Iwasu. She's a member of our SEIU Healthcare Nursing Division Board, representing Region 5. Abby, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Corey. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I see some familiar faces. Thank you, and welcome. So let me just introduce myself for those members that doesn't know who I am. So my name is Abby Osawe, and I am your Nursing Division Executive Board Representative for Region number 5. Like I said, I am extremely happy to be here tonight to tell you more about the Nursing Division and what we do in the Nursing Division. So do you know that SEIU Healthcare is the only service unit with a dedicated nursing division? We're proud to have this space for a diverse group of nurses across the province. So the nursing division is led by President Jackie Walker, and we have a vice president for each sector and a representative for all eight region. For example, I am region number 5 representative. So I got involved with the nursing division because basically I was exhausted and tired of being suppressed and just oppressed at work. I was tired of basically being used, being asked to turn over, roll over, and being used as a puppet. I was tired of being used as just cheap wages, working alongside the RNs, and just the amount of work load was just unbelievable. And the morale and the atmosphere in our unit was extremely low. So I just needed to, speak up and just be the voice for those that couldn't advocate or speak for themselves. And here I am. So our nursing division keeps our nurses updated on the unique professional standards, which are practice standards set by the College of Nurses of Ontario. So the nursing division do advocate for change to the scope of practice in our profession. We want to make sure that we close a wage gap between the RNs and RPNs. We want to ensure that there is safe work environment, safety on the job, including proper PPE. We want to address the staff shortage impacting healthcare and to ensure and advocate for zero tolerance for violence and harassment of healthcare workers and so much more, guys. The nursing division do really stands out. SCIU nursing division do really stands out and advocates for our rights and for our practice. The pandemic has been extremely and incredibly challenging for nurses and healthcare professionals, and it's extremely important that we fight together for what we need and what we believe in. Because if we fight together, we win together. So we're asking all nurses to share their stories from the front line of battling of COVID-19. And guys, if you haven't yet, we will love for you to please upload a video directly on our SCIU nurses.ca story site. So again, the website is SCIU nurses.ca/story site, as well as for other healthcare workers to share stories about nurses who goes above and beyond. I know at least we all know our nursing leaders that do goes above and beyond and advocate for those members that cannot advocate for themselves. So telling our stories is an important way to get the pandemic, to get the public aware and our employers and our government's attention to create a meaningful challenge for our profession. So we need to put pressure on those empowered to do better for nurses and all healthcare workers. Our voice are incredibly powerful tool. For those that doesn't know, extremely when we advocate, we speak, we vocal, we're loud. They hear us, guys. They really hear us. Picking up that phone, calling the MPP, that's the way to go. So SCIU Healthcare and Cupid Ontario Council of Hospital Union recently did a survey, and they surveyed nurses across the province. And guys, let me tell you, this is what they found. 93% of RPN reported experiencing mental and physical exhaustion. 66% of RPNs reported witnessing a co-worker experiencing violence at work. And 1 in 3 reported not receiving paid time off when they're required to isolate due to COVID-19. That is unacceptable. Like really, 1 in 3 RPNs is unacceptable and just disturbing just hearing that. As you guys know, I've seen in the news continuously, our President Charlene Stewart and our nursing division President Jackie, along with SCI healthcare nurses, have been sharing these findings through media, press, and conferences. We're letting the public know that what healthcare workers are facing is not okay and it's unacceptable. Enough is enough. We deserve better, and you deserve better, guys. We definitely deserve better. We can never say that too much. So the government must increase staffing level with full-time jobs that include benefits. We need access to mental resource and safe working conditions. We have been urging the government to give healthcare workers their second dose of COVID-19 vaccine sooner than 4 months. How dare like for nation? This should not ever been a topic or something to discuss, right? Frontline workers, healthcare workers, second dose should never been a topic. We deserve that second dose right away, as per the recommendation from public health in the beginning. So finally, all pressure from SCIU, the government announced that they will reduce the wait time between doses for high-risk healthcare workers. If you go on our SCIU nurses.ca website, you can find updates and meaningful, useful resources, including the recent published guide for redeployment of hospital workers to other hospitals to protect your precious standards of practice if you're referred. So that's very important. So that we're seeing that a lot. As mentioned earlier, Bill 195, it's not something that is on our side and it's positive, but we're here, we're fighting. So SCIU nurses.ca website, you go there. If you have any concern, just read about the redeployment guidelines. You can also find education webinars. Our It's Time to Support RPN campaign, a digital version of our nursing division magazine, Scrub and Scopes, and so much more, guys. For you guys, for all nurses out there, non-nurses, go into the SCIUnurses.ca website and check out the research and information. You see, one great thing you can take a look at in our nursing unit campaign, where we have received so many submissions from patients and clients across the province who are saying thank you to their healthcare profession. Messages are coming, pouring from the public to show appreciation to healthcare workers for your professionalism, your compassion, and your integrity. It warms your heart to read this beautiful tribute. Guys, you guys really need to check out the website and really see the video for yourself. It really is beautiful. Once again, my name is Abby Osawe. I'm Region Number 5 representative on the Nursing Division Executive Board. Thank you guys so much for having me here. I appreciate you guys. Keep up the good work and keep fighting for what you believe in. Thank you, Carrie. Next, Corey.
Abby, thank you so much for sharing all that really important information. I know Abby said it a bunch of times, but if you are a nurse or if you want to learn more about SEIU Healthcare's nursing division, definitely check out SEIUnurses.ca. The link is in the chat a few times, so definitely check that out. We're going to move to our next speaker now, and her topic is very important, just like all of them have been. But we know workplace safety and WSIB have never been more important than they have been over the last 18 months. So we have Brenda Snyder here, who works in our WSIG department, to talk a little bit about that. So Brenda, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Corey. I just need to be able to share my screen. Hi, Corey. It's not letting me share.
Yeah, I'm trying to find you because you're in my big window here. Technical difficulties. I'm going back to the small windows here.
So in the meantime, I want to thank everybody in Region 5 for allowing me to come in and talk to you tonight about health and safety. And also the rights for you to know, and a little bit about WSIB as well, should an injury or an occupational illness occur. I found in talking with some members that not everybody is aware of their rights. So tonight is just a brief overview of important points to remember. So who are your Joint Health and Safety Committee members? And if you're not aware of who your Joint Health and Safety Committee members are, you'll find their names on your Workplace Health and Safety Bulletin Board. Some workplaces have a number of boards, so find out where they are and take a look at the information on them. They'll include the Joint Health and Safety Committee minutes, any Ministry of Labor orders, or inspections of your workplace. Some workplaces have pictures of your Joint Health and Safety Committee members posted on them as well, so that you'll be able to know who you're looking for when you're looking them up. And you may also find the names of your committee members on your union bulletin boards as well. Look up your SEIU committee members. That's the committee that makes a difference in your health and safety in your workplace. Get to know them and ask them how you can help make a difference in your workplace health and safety. A well-informed committee is a knowledgeable and powerful committee, and every one of you can help make that difference in your workplace. We have 3 basic rights. The right to refuse dangerous work and know that you are protected from reprisal. You have a right to refuse work that you believe may harm you. And we also have a right to refuse guidance tool on our website, or you can ask your steward or staff member for that information and have it sent to you so that you can have a copy. Right to know. Remember WHMIS? When was the last time you were updated on the products in your workplace? That's just one example of your right to know. anything happening that concerns your health and safety, you have that right to know of any of those workplace hazards and access to basic health and safety information as well. The right to participate, just what I talked about in participating and finding out how you can assist that Joint Health and Safety Committee members, or what other committees that you can sit on, or how you can help within the unit that you are working on. These are legislated rights that were won by labor unions, and we should all ensure that we use them each and every day in our workplaces. If you have a health and safety issue or concern, you should first discuss it with your supervisor or your manager. Sit down and have that discussion about that issue and concern. See how you can resolve it. It may be that they're not able to resolve it at their level, should it involve finances, or they have to ask permission for something that they'd have to go higher. So if they do that, ask them for a time date of when they'll get back to you. Ask and agree to that timeline, have it in writing if possible. After that, if it's not resolved, or if they haven't gotten back to you, you can file a workplace health and safety complaint form. Each workplace has a complaint form. If you don't know where they are, ask your Joint Health and Safety Committee member or your supervisor or manager as well. Contact your Joint Health and Safety Committee member when you've had those discussions or when you're filing a complaint. The employer may not always provide that information to the committee members, and it's important for them to know if there's issues in the workplace. Should an injury or an occupational illness or disease occur, you should report it to your employer as soon as possible. Don't wait. Seek medical treatment immediately or as soon as possible. Do not delay in seeking treatment. If you delay in these first 2 points and you file a WSIB claim, it could be very well denied. Ensure a workplace incident form is filled out, and you're entitled to a copy. You sign it, you're entitled to it. We've had it where incident reports have gone missing. The employer doesn't know where they are, and also that they've been changed after you have signed them, should you sign them as well. So make sure you have a copy of it. The employer is legally obligated to send a Form 7 to the WSIB should you seek medical treatment or your work duties are modified or accommodated. And you're entitled to a complete copy of that Form 7. That Form 7 sometimes has comments that the employer makes on the 4th page, I believe it is, and you are entitled to that 4th page. So ask them, did you make any comments that you're sending along to WSIB? They are legally obligated to provide it to you. And ensure that your SEIU Joint Health and Safety Committee members are copied on these. The employer doesn't copy the committee on these. They're supposed to provide those notices, but they don't always, and they provide data to them. They need this information so they can see what gaps, or if there's something that is happening within your unit that is involving more than just one person even, so that they can help assist in making it safer for you. And there's a saying about how it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it also takes a village, and the village is your workplace when it comes to health and safety. And it takes all of you to bring each and every one of you home healthy and safe to your families. And I thank you very much for inviting me to your meeting tonight. Over to you, Corey.
Thanks so much, Brenda. We're going to get into our next poll questions of the night, and this is our final one before we are almost wrapped up and ready for questions. So I will open up our second poll here, and the two questions are, have you downloaded the SEIU Healthcare mobile app yet? And the second question is, have you gotten the COVID-19 vaccine? So there is the poll. Please let us know your answers. And I'm actually curious to know if you want to put it in the chat, if you have downloaded the SEIU Healthcare mobile app, and I know based on the numbers I'm about to present, most of you probably have. Did you find out about this meeting or come to this meeting because of the SEIU Healthcare app? So I'd love to know that information. if you were able to use the app to come here tonight, because we have definitely seen a higher turnout this session, and I think the app is a big help for that. I definitely also see 3 folks here that do not have the app, so hopefully my presentation in a few minutes will help get you on there. I see lots of folks fully vaccinated, which is great. I think that's the most fully vaccinated percentage I've seen throughout the 5 regions we've done. I'm really excited. I will be fully vaccinated as of Wednesday, so I'm really excited about that. So 71 with the app, 29% without the app. So we will try to change your mind coming up right here. So thank you again for answering our poll question. Always helpful to have that information. So I'm going to share my screen and take you through the mobile app experience. So it's hard to believe, but it's already been over a month since we launched the SEIU Healthcare app. It's been a really exciting month. We've been working on it for a little over a year, and to have it finally out and to have the success we've had along with it has been really great. So a reminder, if you have any questions about the app or anything we've talked about tonight, right after this presentation, we will be taking questions. I've written a few down that we've already had come in, and I'll definitely take a look after this presentation to see if any more have come. So by the numbers, we've been around about a month, already at 6,000 downloads, which we're really happy with. It just means that that's 6,000 more ways we have to communicate with our members. Obviously, when we created the app, the #1 goal is to get information to you. You know, right now, the old ways, you were checking your emails, you were going on social media, you were checking our website, all great tools for information. And I definitely advise you to check all those platforms out, because there's always different things on all of them, but the app is really a way to bring the information right to you. We know that, you know, maybe you're quickly between patients or home care clients, maybe you're on a 10-minute break. You don't have that time to search all the different avenues for what's going on in the union. Now, thanks to the app, push notifications, alerts, that information's coming right to you. We have 60% Apple, 40% Android. I like to point that out just to say that we support both apps the same. When one is updated, the other one is updated. So no matter what device you have, whether it's an Apple phone, a Samsung phone, an Android phone, not a flip phone, but unless you have one of those really nice new expensive ones, but whatever platform you have, the app is supported the same way. And we have about 450 stewards on the app. So I saw about 4 or 5 folks here that don't have the app. If you're a steward, I can't tell you enough how much of a difference this app can make for you. It's a great tool to have for stewards especially. So definitely get that. And if you're a member with a steward that doesn't have the app, definitely let them know about it, get them on there, just because it is such a great tool. And I'll go over a few of the reasons why in these next few slides. A few other important numbers to share. 7,000 article shares, and what that really means is not only are we getting that information to the 6,000 people that have downloaded the app, but people are also sharing that information. Maybe it's information with your friends, your family, maybe it's your coworkers that don't have the app or they're having trouble downloading the app. What's great is that if you share an article with someone that doesn't have the app, they're actually redirected to our website to view the article that's been also posted there. So if you send it to a family member who may not want to download the app because they're not part of the union, they still have access to that same information. And then the other really exciting number here is 45% of all member service center requests are coming through the live chat. So that's really saying that, you know, those calls that folks used to make to the member resource center, a lot of folks are joining us in the 21st century and logging on to the live chat to use that function. And it works really well. It's quicker, it's easier, and you can get the information you need quicker. And that's what I say for stewards. You know, you might have a question from a member and you only have 5 minutes to deal with it before you'd have to call into the MRC, press a bunch of numbers to get where you wanted. Maybe it's busy, maybe you have to wait on hold. With the live chat, it's much quicker, it's much easier, and you can get those answers right away. So great to see so much traffic coming through the member service center chat. And I can only imagine as we get more folks on the chat, those numbers are going to keep going up and up. Another number that I shared with some other folks last week that I just want to point out is the number 1,000. And that's about as many people that have signed up to the app but haven't linked their member number to their account. And that only gives you about half the functionality of the app. If you don't include your member number when you sign up, you're not going to have access to your collective agreement. You're going to have a little bit slower of a process with the live chat because you'll have to confirm your identity and you won't be able to check out your grievances. So if you haven't linked your member number to the app yet, which we know about 1/6 of our signups haven't, make sure you do that. If you need your member number, It was emailed and texted to everybody. So if we have your information, if you're here, you probably got that email or text, so check that out. If not, connect with the live chat, connect with the member service center over the phone. They can get you your number in just a couple of minutes, and it really does enhance that app functionality. Later this week, we'll be sending an email to everybody that hasn't done that as well, just as a reminder with your number so that you can do that. If you don't have the app, and I know there was 4 or 5 that don't, I just want to take you through it really quickly. Really easy to find. You're going to go onto your Google Play Store or your Apple App Store. You search for SEIU Healthcare. You'll find that beautiful, familiar purple logo. When you do that, you want to click the Get button, you click the Download button. It's really easy to download. The file size is super small, so it's not going to take up a lot of space on your phone, and it doesn't use a lot of data, so you don't have to worry about that either. Really quick, easy to download. Definitely check that out. Once you get there, you'll see this. There's 2 options to either sign up or I already have an account, which is basically fancy words for login. If you do have the online member portal, and I always shout out Heather Wilson because I see her on here. I saw her earlier. I'm not sure if she's still here, but I think she's used our MemberLink online portal more than anybody else because it tells me how many times people have logged in. So if you already have an account, you can use that same online member portal account to log into the app. If you don't have an online member portal account, definitely click the sign up button. Say that you're an SEIU healthcare member. That's where you're entering the member ID. I always tell folks, if you don't have your ID handy, you can click skip for now, which I've highlighted at the bottom of that screen there. You can add it later. It just does, it keeps up with the process. You're not going to fall behind, and you can go to the live chat once you're in to do that. And then enter your first name, your last name, email address, and password. Your email address, if you're linking it to your member number, does have to match what we have in our system, which is usually your personal email address. So if you have any issues logging in, that could be why. And then I got a lot of questions on sign up. If you got the email or the text, there was a chance to win an iPad. Everybody that downloads the app, at least until middle of July, will be entered. But if you enter the referral code that was on either, you were given by a coworker, a colleague, a union rep, or it was on the mail out you received, or it was on the email or text message you got, you can click the add referral code button at the bottom there. It opens up a little window and you just put that code in there. So make sure not to skip that step because it gives you more chances to win, and who doesn't like winning? So some really quick features of the app, obviously collective agreements. Every collective agreement, our clerical staff did an amazing job breaking down every single article of every single collective agreement, putting it into the app piece by piece. What that allows it to do is you can break it down through a table of contents, section by section, but you can also search word by word. So say someone's asking a question about vacation or wage grids, you can just type in those words and it's going to tell you everywhere it's in that collective agreement. No more flipping through a booklet looking for words, no more scrolling through a PDF document looking for words. You can just search what you're looking for. It's going to save you tons of time. We've gone over the live chat, quick and easy. There's also a callback function there. So if you get to the live chat after hours, which is after 4:30, you can request a callback, which is next business day, and choose a time that works for you, including after 4 p.m. News alerts, you'll get push notifications. If you have the app, you would have got the push notification today to be like, watch our commercial before Doug takes us down. So definitely take a look at that. All the news that we have is going to come right to you, and all those alerts are customizable. So if you only want to be notified of events, or if you only want news, if you only want to hear about the new files or resources we add, you can set all that up in your My SEIU section. And events, maybe you got here tonight through the events tab. But what's great about the events tab, if you haven't checked it out, is you can actually add events to your calendar. So say tonight you got the email, you got the app notification 3-4 weeks ago that this was happening. You click add to calendar, it's going to put that right in your Google or Apple phone. And 15 minutes before you start, you're going to get that notification saying your meeting's about to start. So no more being late for meetings or missing meetings, whether that's a GMM, whether that's a big event like Labor Day, or whether that's an event like tonight. You're always going to be reminded of those events. So very important. Now, with any technological launch, there's going to be a few issues. If you went on the app for the first few days and haven't been back since, there was some collective agreements that crashed after launch. We were quick to fix them within 2 or 3 days. As far as I know, every collective agreement is now there. It's now working fine. So if you left after that experience and haven't been back, definitely come back, check it out. It should work. Collective agreements for stewards with multiple units. We see this a lot with our hospitals. We're still trying to find a resolution to this, but we know that you may be, for example, a steward for service part-time in your hospital, but you also deal with folks that are clerical part-time, clerical full-time, service full-time. Right now, you're only going to see the collective agreement for the unit that you're connected to. So if you belong to the service full-time, that's the one you're going to see. If that is applicable to you, and I have seen some hospital members on here that might be, definitely contact me. I'll put my email address in the chat after this presentation. We can fix that on the back end. It's just something that isn't pulled automatically. We still have some reports of grievances not all showing up. We're working on that. It should be fixed for most of you, but if there is an issue or you're not seeing a grievance on your app, call the Member Service Center just to make sure it's there. We did update a few things on June 14th. There was actually a brand new update today that fixed some things. But what's great is when this event was first in your app, you would have seen all 8 regional events, and we know that's kind of hard to search through. We added events regionality to our event filter today. So you'll be actually able to, when you logged on tonight, you would have just seen Region 5, and you'll see us refine that a little bit more. Stuff for sector based. So if you're a hospital worker, we're going to try to tailor just the hospital events to you so that you're not, others aren't seeing the same things you are. And it's really about customizing the app for each user. And again, that's why it's so important to connect your member number to the app, because you might not see everything that you're meant to see if you don't do that. And as with any app, we're going to update it every 2 to 3 weeks. Some small fixes you'll see over time, but we also have a big roadmap that's going to be, a year, 2, 3 years down the road, adding stuff like e-learning to the app, adding, new functionality all the time, just trying to make the app the best it can be. It's been out a month. There's already been some ads, but the app's going to keep getting better and better and better. This is just the first version. So if you have any questions about the app, definitely let us know. And there's also a feedback survey in the Take Action section of the app to let us know what you think of the app, to give us your ideas about the app. Definitely go in there, take a look, let us know what you think about it. Let us know what you'd like to see in a future version of the app. We're always keeping an eye on that, and that's really what we're looking for. Member feedback so that we add the right things to the app at the right time. So that is it for my presentation, and that's really going to bring us to the end of the day. But before I get to questions, we are going to do our first giveaway, and it's for a $75 President's Choice gift card, and the winner is going to be the first person to correctly put the answer in the chat. So I'll give folks 5 seconds here to get their chat open. And the question is, and again, I need 2 answers here. Name 2 bills the Ontario government has introduced that have held healthcare workers down. So we're gonna go back to Christoph's presentation and refresh our minds and think, what 2 bills? And Lisa Pattison is our winner. She was very quick. So 124 and 195 are definitely 2 bills. 124 caps, we're fighting that, capping the wage increase at 1%. So Lisa, congratulations. That gift card will be in the mail in the coming days. And thank you for participating, everyone that answered. So now we're going to get to questions. And I do have our first one here, and it was from Seema earlier. And she asks, why is the pandemic pay not permanent? Schlegel is only making money for the shareholders. And I think that's probably a great question for Tyler to answer.
Thanks, Seema, for the question. I just want to be clear with everyone here. From the beginning of the pandemic, SEIU, we've been clear that the pandemic pay should have gone to all healthcare workers. I don't think we've ever said it should only go to certain workers or one classification. We've pushed for all healthcare workers be covered under the pandemic pay. Obviously, more recently, the PSWs got another extension on the pandemic pay. And again, we've said to government that this should be extended to all healthcare workers. And so we're just going to continue to say that. I think it would be helpful if our members started to say that too, to their elected officials. It's one thing for Charlene or myself when we go into these government meetings to say it. It's another when they hear it from their own constituents in the riding. Some of you may live in conservative ridings, right? And so I know Region 5 is pretty vast in terms of geography. So picking up the phone and calling your local MPP and telling them to extend the pandemic pay to all healthcare workers is a pretty easy thing to do, and you can do that. You don't need permission to do it. You don't need me to give you permission to do it, but it's extremely helpful for you to do it. So that's been our position. Obviously, this government hasn't listened well to the calls, not just of our union, but other unions in terms of applying the pandemic pay for all frontline healthcare workers. So it's going to just continue to be a fight with this government to make sure that they do the right thing, but it definitely is helpful if our members participate and make those calls as well.
Thanks, Tyler. And yeah, as Tyler mentioned, we're going to have lots of different actions over the next week and weeks and months. So make sure to pay attention to the app, to our social media channels, to our website, get involved as possible. Heather asked, and I mentioned Heather before, our member link and e-learning superstar over there, but Heather wants to know when we're going to be able to file grievances on the app, and I'll take that one. So if you're a steward, under the forms section of the app, you will see that you're able to log a grievance. We're going to be adding some language, hopefully this week, that clarifies some of that. But right now you have the ability to log a grievance with the Member Service Center, who will then contact you to provide you with the grievance number. But you still have to file the grievance the normal way with your employer. So it's something that we're looking to add. And obviously when there's two sides and the employer's on half of it, we've tried to give you a head start on the app by being able to file it with us, but you still have to file the formal grievance with your employer. So it's something that we're working on down the road for a future version of the app, but there is definitely the form in there for you to get a head start, and the Member Resource Center will contact you once you submit that. I don't see any other questions. I will pause for a second to see if you have any for Tyler or Brenda, myself. I'll put Jackie Walker, our nursing division president, on the spot, who's good enough to join us tonight. If anybody has any nursing questions for Jackie or Abby. I see Manpreet, who just says, you know, we all have to open up and be very loud. I think that's very true. And we're definitely going to be very loud. I think, you know, Alex asked a question in the chat earlier about, you know, what are we going to do if, because of Bill 254 and our limitations, and Tyler answered in the chat that, you know, we found some loopholes. We have great legal teams, we have great researchers, we have great people at SEIU that are always looking at ways to get around that stuff. So we're not going to let Bill 254 stop us. We're going to be loud. We're going to be annoying to the government, and we're going to do everything we can to make your voices heard. So I think no fears about that. I think, you know, but as Tyler said, it can't just be Tyler, and it just can't be me and Jackie. It has to be like every single member, as many as possible, raising your voice, getting involved, because there's strength in numbers, and together all of us can really make that change. So definitely encourage everyone to get involved.
Corey, let me just add this. So I mean, was it Manpreet? Sorry, I forgot who asked this question here. Yes, Manpreet. So here's how politics works in a way that I think folks should really understand. And you're getting it from someone before my work with SEIU many years ago. Like, I was a political organizer, community organizer, and worked with various politicians. When it comes to what issues they pay attention to in any constituency or riding, the threshold that they use is when there are about 25 people in their riding, their constituents, that raise an issue, they begin to pay attention to it, okay? And so you can just imagine that if there's one person that's making one phone call, that's great for that one person, but there's got to be multiple people in that ride-ins across this province from a healthcare perspective raising these issues, whether it's pandemic pay, Bill 124, 254, or whatnot. And so that's why when we say it's important to call your MPP or write a letter, that's why we do that, because we want to get to that threshold where they're like, okay, there's enough people in my constituency that have this problem. I need to pay attention to it and go do something about it before it gets out of hand. And so I just wanted to share that with folks as a way of like quantifying how politicians look at individual issues or specific issues, whether they're employment issues or whatnot, and how they take it seriously.
Thanks, Tyler. So I'm going to share my screen again here. As we get ready to leave for the night, I just want to share a few upcoming events, because June is always a very, very busy month, and this one's no different. So on June 22nd, which is next Tuesday, there's a Facebook Live for Filipino Heritage Month. It's a really special night planned with some great guest speakers, a performance. So definitely tune in. That's going to be at 7 o'clock. And then on June 29th, we have a Facebook Live celebrating Pride Month. So you're definitely not going to want to miss that. Also available on our Facebook channel at 7 p.m. And then July 16th, it's Purple Day. You know, Purple Day is always a very special day for us. And I know a lot of folks, especially on here, I see a lot of familiar faces that have celebrated pretty hard in the past. So start planning your Purple Day. Hopefully this year we can do a little bit more than we did last year. Get ready to send us your pictures and your ideas. And for all three of these, check the app and our website, as we'll be communicating lots more details on these in the coming days and weeks. And with that, I will wrap us up. So thanks so much, everyone, for attending. It's been great to see everybody. And I look forward to seeing everybody again at our next regional meeting, which, as Tyler mentioned, will be in early October. There's going to be a feedback survey put in the chat, which I will do now. And if you can please fill this out and let us know what you thought of tonight's meeting, what you'd like to see moving forward. We definitely read every single feedback survey. We take all that and try to make the next one better. That same feedback survey is going to be emailed to you tomorrow, as long as a copy of this meeting. So, if one of your coworkers wasn't able to attend tonight, definitely forward this email on to them when you get it tomorrow, so they can get the same information that you got tonight. Just a reminder to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, you can find us under SEIU Healthcare Canada. While on Instagram, we are at SEIU Healthcare. If we didn't get to your question tonight, or you have a new question that pops up, our member service center is always there to help you. 1-877-672-7348. Monday to Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Always happy to help. And of course, you can access the Member Service Center through our brand new mobile app. So thanks again for joining me. Keep an eye on your email for the date and times of our next meetings and all those awesome events that I talked about a few minutes ago. I look forward to seeing you then. Have a great rest of your week.